And I should introduce myself, actually. I'm Carol Lourie, and I'm a naturopath, acupuncturist, and homeopath. And the focus of my clinical practice and my online community is to help women come back from breast cancer healthier, stronger, and better than ever. And we're going to be here today for about an hour. And I'm going to be sharing actions that you can begin to use immediately to begin to optimize your health and recover your health and restore your life. We're talking today about everything you need to know for life after breast cancer. And it's not just life, it's your best life, right? It's the life of your dreams, the life that you thought about while you were sitting in the infusion chair, getting your treatments, the life that you envisioned when you were going through radiation. It's your best life. And I want to encourage you all to stay with me until the end, because I'm going to share how you can have a complimentary call with me. I know from the very beginning, when you first hear the words that no woman ever wants to hear, you have breast cancer, it's not as if you envisioned that for your life. You're thinking, well, I'm going through these treatments, but what if it comes back? And there's a lot of hype about breast cancer, but for you, it's not hype. It's a real diagnosis. It's something that's impacted your life and the life of your family. And there's this idea about vulnerability that I think is very important to talk about. I think vulnerability is a beautiful emotion and feeling, and it's a very authentic way of being in the world. And we don't ever see advertisements about vulnerability on television, do we? It's usually about women who are feeling depressed, and the result of that is to take an antidepressant. But there is this underlying sense of vulnerability once you have received this diagnosis. And it has to do with, well, what if it comes back, right? And then you go through all this treatment and you ring the bell. There's a very nice ritual, and you get a diploma, and everyone thinks that you're done. And your family and your community and your workplace think, okay, she's through that. She's going to get back to her old normal. Let's get things going as the way they were. But even after you've completed active treatment, you are not necessarily feeling your best self, right? You've been through a rigorous protocol, and your energy is somewhat diminished, and there is all this emotional trauma potentially, and you can feel so bad that you just want to hide underneath a rock. And the other aspect of this is there's something that no one is talking about, and this is a beautiful elephant, and it's a beautiful room, but they don't go together. And what is being hidden here, and it's not so much in the forefront, but it's in your mind a lot, is that, am I really done? What's going on here? So from my perspective as an integrative practitioner, and integrative means I believe in taking the best of both worlds, medical oncology and naturopathic or holistic strategies. You are in a new phase of your breast cancer journey, and what you need now is different than what you needed when you were initially in treatment, because you're still trying to understand how long had the cancer been inside of you before it was discovered. And, really what we're here to talk about is what can you do to keep it from coming back? And from where I'm sitting as an integrative practitioner, the answer is, you're not done when you ring the bell and you finished active treatment, because breast cancer is a metabolic disease. Now, this is a concept that is not discussed through regular medical oncology appointments. When you go into your oncologist, do they say, hello, you've been diagnosed with breast cancer, and did you know that breast cancer is a metabolic disease? But that phrase, let me explain a little bit about what that means for you, is that there are many pathways or many abnormal messaging systems that get activated that create cancer. There's not one thing that creates any chronic serious disease, but that also provides you with the ability to get those abnormal, unhealthy messaging signals reversed. And that's the good news, because you can empower your body to change the messaging in the cells. And we're going to be talking about that today. So here's some of these are real quotes women have shared with me. The minute I finished treatment, you get a lot of support when you're in treatment. And then all of a sudden you feel like you're given this pill and you're said, bye, we'll see you in 3 or 6 months. And all of that support disappears. You feel like your oncologist, fell off the face of the earth. The other aspect of this is that you're put through what I call speedy menopause. Menopause is usually a physiological event that happens gradually over a period of 1 to 2 years. And all of a sudden you're given this hormone blocking pill, tamoxifen or an aromatase inhibitor. And that pushes, all of a sudden you're in speedy menopause, and it's very disrupting, not just to your physical body, but to your nervous system. And your family doesn't understand what the heck is going on. And then there are these side effects of tamoxifen or aromatase inhibitors of aching and joints. And when you're in treatment, there's a start and a stop point. But when you're told that you need to take these hormone blocking medications for up to 10 years and you're not feeling well, that really creates a disrupted quality of life that you don't even know how that you're going to deal with it. But we're here today, and I'm here to share with you that you can empower yourself to reduce your risk of recurrence as well as those side effects from hormone blocking medication, and you can reduce your risk of recurrence right now. And empowerment for me is a very important word. Empowerment has to do with education and knowledge, and taking this chronic disease, breast cancer is a chronic disease, and saying, okay, I have this disease or this illness or this diagnosis, and what can I do with my body, with my life, with my mindset to really feel like I'm on top of the wave? And there's a lot of kinetic energy in this wave. I didn't choose to put this photo there by accident. I want to help you discover how you can tap into your kinetic energy so you can become empowered. And it's not that hard, because you're not a victim of breast cancer. That's the first mindset shift that we start with. And I want to share how breast cancer became personal for me. Here I am in 2019 giving a presentation at the Annie Appleseed Conference in Florida. I was talking to people with cancer as well as practitioners and physicians about using intermittent fasting, which is a really important aspect of shifting your mindset and your habits. And I remember being on the plane home, there were some people wearing masks. I didn't really understand. This was February of 2019, and just a few weeks later, the world shut down because of the pandemic. But let's go backwards several years, and here I am in the kitchen helping my daughter make lunch, and you all have this experience. It's the phone call that you look back and you realize, this phone call changed my life. And for me, I thought it was a crank call. I couldn't understand who was on the phone. And finally, I realized it was my dear friend, and she was hysterically crying, saying they found a lump. She had felt something suspicious. She went in for her mammogram, and there it was. And you've already been through this. You know that there was a biopsy. I was in the room with her when she had the biopsy. And even though everyone was doing their best, it was still a traumatic experience, as you may recall. And that generates a pathology report. Now, there are some aspects of breast cancer diagnosis that you can control, and what shows up on this pathology report, you cannot. But from where I'm standing, and also from where your physicians are standing, your oncologists, this provides really important information about what kind of treatment do you need and how can we help you from an integrative perspective. So she then went through chemo, and she chose to do radiation. Radiation is a choice. There's side effects of radiation that are not often discussed. And she felt it was in her benefit to do radiation. But right from the very beginning, I had studied about cancer as a student at the National College of Naturopathic Medicine many years ago. And I moved to California and got my acupuncture license. But I really upped my knowledge, and I started attending advanced integrative oncology classes, and I started using my toolbox to help her through treatment. And I remember when we were in the oncology appointment at UCSF, she was being treated by one of the main breast cancer doctors there. The doctor looked at her blood work and then looked back up at us and said, "So what are you doing?" And I thought maybe there was a problem. And I began to tell her, and she said to me, she's having less side effects. She's not having anemia or gut problems. Her white blood cell count and her red blood cell count were great. And she maintained her energy, and she was really quite positive going through the whole thing. And the doctor said to me, "I don't know what you're doing, but I want all of my patients to be doing that too." And here it is. It's actually, this number should be changed. It's 17 years later. She's cancer-free. And the physician at UCSF began to refer all of her patients to me for, supportive integrative care. And this was my office in Berkeley, and my practice began to focus on women with breast cancer. And right from the beginning, I began to see how adding these integrative tools side by side with what they're going through with medical oncology really began to help them feel as if they realized they had options. And that made a really big shift because they didn't feel stuck so much. So the truth is that breast cancer can come back, and you've been told this. The risk of recurrence is highest within the first 2 years after treatment. And if that happens, that's an indication that the treatment that the doctors originally thought wasn't the right treatment for you. And so if you're through cancer treatment, whether it's been 6 months or 5 or 10 years, and you get this sensation of, these little thoughts, is it going to come back? It's been a while. I'm going in for my mammogram. I'm really anxious. You need a higher level of support than if your friends say to you, "Oh, don't worry, you're fine." You need to know that you're doing everything possible so you can cancer-proof your life. And the other side of cancer-proofing your life is this sense of hopelessness. Now, hopelessness is a sneaky, often unconscious feeling. And it sneaks in ways that we can deal with empowerment. And a holistic approach to cancer-proofing your life takes the best of both worlds. We want to use the beauty and the science of medical oncology, and we also want to utilize the science-backed beauty of natural medicine, botanical medicine, herbal medicine. And I'm going to be sharing my toolkit with you right now for everything you need to know for life after breast cancer, so you can come back stronger, healthier, and better than ever. And having been in practice for over 35 years, I've condensed this into what I call my 5 steps. So we want to look at food, and food can reduce your risk. And it also, what you eat needs to be healthy and delicious. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about what is the best breast cancer diet. And one thing is very clear, that the standard American diet, the initials are SAD, it's not just sad, it's also dangerous. It contributes to all disease, and there is research, science-proven research, that the standard American diet literally quadruples the cancer rate, and there's a reference on this slide. 4 times the cancer rate. It's not just cancer, it's also cardiovascular disease, it's obesity, it's diabetes. So we really need to help you discover what is the opposite of the standard American diet. And when you change the food you eat, you're providing, remember how I talked about you can give positive messages to the pathways and to your cells. You're giving those positive messages to your cells away from inflammation, and you're creating an environment in which cancer is no longer welcome in your body. because tumors are very tricky. Tumors, not only do they think they can live in one spot, they think they have the right to take over the whole neighborhood. And that's called the tumor microenvironment. And then they think, well, I've taken over the neighborhood, I'm going to call to the town over and the town over. And that's called metastasis. We don't want the tumors to be able to do that. We want to interfere with the cell signaling. Think about it as blocking the cell phone towers. And you get to do that with how you eat, the food, the choices you make of what you put in your body, because the right food starves cancer and interferes with cell signaling. And I have this philosophy about life, that if something has been around for thousands of years, it has to be valid. How did this phrase from Hippocrates, 400 BC, let food be thy medicine? How do we even know about this thousands and thousands of years later? And here's an example of how food is medicine as opposed in connection to cancer. So I used to be a snob. I used to be a chef, and I was a snob about white button mushrooms. I thought, you can find them everywhere. It's not a big deal. There's all these different types of mushrooms. Those are better, and actually they're good, but so are these white button mushrooms. Because when I started doing research into cancer and food, these actually, they're called agaricus, these actually inhibit aromatase activity. And you need to either eat them raw or you need to put them in low heat if you're going to cook them. Is eating white button mushrooms enough that you don't have to take aromatase blocking hormone drugs? No, but it's good to know about this. There are lots of other examples of food as medicine, and we cover that. I'll tell you how in a little bit. But the most important thing to know is you have the ability to control the tumor's microenvironment or neighborhood by what you eat. And that is the first step of empowerment. Now, food is about nourishment. It's not about putting this unattractive, not appealing, something that doesn't taste or look good item on your plate. We want to have a life full of abundance and joy. So we want to create food that nourishes both your body and your soul, and also that everybody will enjoy. You don't want to be cooking one way for yourself and another way for your family. And as you become accustomed and you change how you're eating to the best breast cancer diet, the ripple effect of your change is that everybody in your household starts feeling better because you've removed a lot of the standard American diet processed food from your home and your pantry. Now, the second step is all about supplements, and I am a big proponent of supplements. And I have people say to me, I have a healthy diet. Why do I need vitamins? Can I get enough of what I need from the food that I eat? And unfortunately, there's two aspects to this question. First of all, even if you're eating organic, the soil is not as healthy as it used to be. GMOs sneak into food, and it's really impossible when you're working to change the neighborhood in your body so it's inhospitable to cancer. It's not possible to eat enough food to get enough of what you need. But the other aspect of this is you've been through chemotherapy, and you've been through radiation, and you've been through surgery, some combination of the triad. And going through that really disrupts your gut microbiome. And the issue about supplements, the additional issue of how they work, is they support the pathways that restrict cancer growth, and they block the pathways that encourage cancer growth. So they do a lot of positive messaging. And they also strengthen your immune system so that your immune system can recognize unhealthy cells and gobble them up. And here's some of the examples of how supplements work. There are supplements which help repair your gut, such as pre and probiotics. There are supplements which provide immune support, such as vitamin C. There's supplements which encourage the cancer cells to die, either through encouraging them to die or stopping their division. And that happens with something like D-ribose. There are anti-inflammatory supplements such as curcumin And there's antioxidant supplements such as quercetin. So notice that phrase, targeted supplementation. We don't want to throw the kitchen sink at you. We want you to know that you're taking the right products that you need. And here's an example of how I use supplements. You've all probably heard of turmeric or curcumin. Now, curcumin is an example of a product that's been around for 4,000 years. So if something's been around for 4,000 years, you know that I'm going to say there has to be some validity to it. And now we have science, and research has shown that curcumin is a very powerful antioxidant, and it inhibits tumor cell growth by promoting the cells to die. And it also reduces the formation of new blood vessels. That's called angiogenesis. And it's an interesting thing here. It restores tamoxifen sensitivity. Now, I've had some women say to me, my oncologist has told me that I cannot take curcumin if I'm on tamoxifen. So I began a conversation with that oncologist and sent them references. And actually the oncologist said, thank you very much. Now I feel fine with my patients taking curcumin. So there's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding of what is real science at this point. And the other aspect of supplements is, how do you know that you're getting the real thing? And this is a very important component of an area that I've spent a lot of my time on. I want to make sure when I recommend supplements to anyone in my community that you're getting the right products at the right time, in the right order, and that they're made to pharmaceutical quality standards. That's a really key phrase. I know a lot of you really want to take supplements and you want to do the best for yourself, and you go online and you do all this research. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and somebody says you need to be on this product and that product, and you spend hundreds of dollars. And then when people come into my practice and in my online community, I go through these bottles and I go, well, more than 50% of what you've spent money on, these products are not made to pharmaceutical quality standards. The other aspect is you need to be organized. Lots of times you'll end up with 8, 10, 15 bottles. And if you're not organized, they'll just sit on the kitchen counter and gather dust. So I've created a video to help you get organized. I've done this system with probably thousands of people by now. You can go to my CarolLourie.com website, look in the download section, scroll down, and there's a video about being organized. The secret is not these little plastic things. That's not going to keep you organized. You want supplements to be part of your life and not controlling your life. That's the other aspect of this. And then we want to talk about trauma. That's the third step. Now, I had a woman say to me, I haven't had any trauma. Why are you asking me about that? And I said, okay, let's change the word trauma to upsetting experiences. And she said, oh, okay, well, I've had a lot of upsetting experiences. And I said, so would you like to share some? And she just started with one. That was a traumatic event. And this is where I get to talk to you about the frog in warm water syndrome. This is true from a biology standpoint. If you put a frog in warm water and you gradually increase the temperature to the boiling point, the frog will not get out of the water. It has adjusted and it will die. And unfortunately, women, I've seen this a lot, women in general, but specifically women with breast cancer, have the tendency to adapt to unhealthy events and lots of stress. You adapt and adapt and adapt, like the frog in warm water, and then there is a diagnosis or your body collapses. So this is part of what I call the breast cancer syndrome, and I'll be talking about that a little bit more. There's a lot of emotional trauma connected to breast cancer. And one of the things that I like to talk about is it's not just the diagnosis, but what happened before the diagnosis. And this woman who said she didn't have any trauma when she started talking about her upsetting experiences, they happened 20 or 30 years before her diagnosis. So we all, as we get older, have traumatic events. And the issue about how you handle that is in the moment you adapt, so you survive. And then that energy stays in your body and can come up. After lots of stress, it can be activated. As you go through menopause, naturally it can be activated. The changes of your environment in your life, it can be activated, and then you get a chronic diagnosis. So when you've had breast cancer, there's just trauma connected to that. You look in the mirror and you don't look the same anymore. It takes a long time to adjust to the changes, not just for you, but also for your spouse. And how do you move from just coping and putting your emotions on the back burner to really feeling like you're present in the moment and thriving? Because there's a direct relationship between trauma, stress, and recurrence. And there's an enormous amount of research in this. As we uncover your upsetting experiences, stress, and trauma, your hormones levels of your cortisol change, and you're more able to be present in your current life. As you unburden yourself from trauma, your being becomes free to get that sparkle back that you had once before. And fortunately, right now, we have lots of tools for connecting to your inner self. There's meditation and prayer. There's yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong. These are 3 forms of movement that have been around for thousands of years. So I'm going to say there has to be some validity to them. And the good news about yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong is there are literally thousands of people doing them on YouTube. So you can scroll through YouTube. You can decide, I'm going to try Tai Chi. And you can keep scrolling until you find someone that you like that resonates with you. And you can start out doing Tai Chi. If you're too weak to stand up, you can do it sitting down. But the whole beauty of these 3 activities as an acupuncturist, they keep the energy moving smoothly in your body. And cancer is stuck energy. And how the Chinese Oriental medicine looks at cancer is your body should be like a smooth river. And if there is a storm, items fall into the river, and then the river doesn't flow as smoothly as it should. And there comes to be a little pocket, and the water can't move, and it starts evaporating. And the next thing you know, you have this pocket of mud. That's called blood stagnation in Chinese medicine. And that is how, in Chinese medicine, a tumor forms. So once you've been diagnosed with breast cancer, you've had cancer, one of the 5 steps is to keep your energy flowing smoothly. And you can do that very easily with yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong. I'm a big proponent of counseling and therapy. I have helped people find local counselors and therapists in their area to do work with. And we have community support and social connections. And that's one of the beauties of you're all here today. And I have a Facebook group, and many of you have already joined it. But if you haven't, please, because I'm in there all the time. You ask questions. I answer the questions. Other people in the community answer questions. And it's really specifically for women who are interested in holistic and integrative tools. And then we want to look at, as the 4th step, what's happening in your body. Now, when you bring your car into the mechanic, you don't say to the mechanic, I just want you to look at the right rear tire, even though the engine sounds weird. You wanted a whole thorough investigation of what's happening with your car, and you want a whole thorough investigation of what's happening in your body. And unfortunately, that isn't done through standard oncology. If you're educated and empowered, you can then go into your doctor's office and say, I want certain tests. Sometimes they will run them, sometimes they won't. It doesn't hurt to ask. But inflammation is the foundation of all disease. That's a fact. And you know how inflammation feels. You get joint pains, you have headaches, you get bloated, you get muscle aches. But the good news is we can test for inflammation. These are 2 standard tests. The C-reactive protein, it looks at if you're having prog where you get a baseline, and then you want to keep testing it every 4 to 6 months. And then there's the ESR, erythrocyte sedimentation rate, and that reveals general inflammation in the body. And there's a lot more tests like this. So ideally, we get certain tests, we get a baseline a few months after you're done active treatment, and then we put you on a protocol of how you're eating and your supplements, and we monitor what happens with your blood work. Because we're able to reduce this inflammation with nourishing food and targeted supplements, and that is the beauty of the fourth step. Now, the fifth step is creating a healthy and joyful lifestyle. And I really think the joy word here is very important because we all need joy. You can't just have this dull, boring life where you're feeling like I have to do this, I have to do that. That is not going to work. That's why we want to look at a healthy lifestyle as a commitment and becoming empowered and embracing a new way forward. Nobody volunteers to have breast cancer, but you've had it. And now how can you make this as easy and healthy and joyful a life possible for you? That's the next task. It's about recovering your health to restore your life, and not just restore your life, but to create a life even better than the one you had before. So here are some of the components of a healthy and joyful lifestyle. And notice it says organic foods only. When you're at home, I think it's very important to eat organic food. I've had people say to me, I can't afford organic food. Now, I've done extensive grocery shopping. I've gone to Safeway and put stuff in my cart that I was embarrassed to have, and I've added it up to see how much it cost. Then I've gone to the health food store or the farmer's market, and I've added that up to see how much it costs. And actually, I spent less at the farmer's market and the health food store than I did at Safeway. Why? Because when you're eating processed food, you're paying for the advertising, you're paying for the box, and not to mention the fact that there's nothing real live in that box that you're eating, right? So it's a political statement to stop buying food in boxes from the normal supermarkets. What do you bring in your home as far as cleaning supplies? When you go into Safeway and you walk down that aisle where the laundry detergent is, the first thing that hits you is that odor. And that odor is chemicals called estrogen disruptors. They put these chemicals into the Tide or whatever it is, Dawn, dishwashing detergent, whatever. They put these chemicals in it to smell nice, but those chemicals are disrupting your hormones and impacting the health of your gut. Do you filter your water? And we go into this a little bit more, but filter, there's fluoride and chemical byproducts in our water. Fluoride is the number one, it's one of the only ingredient chemical that's put in anything where there isn't any health study about it. And the dose is the same for everyone. So how do we know that it's okay for an infant versus somebody who's in their 40s or 50s? Are you doing enjoyable physical activity? Now, if you asked me to go swimming, it would not happen because it messes with my hair and it's too much of a pain in the neck to get there. But what are two physical activities or exercise that you like to do that you will do? So for me, it's my power walks and I lift weights. Do you like to ride bike? Do you want to join a gym and get, one-on-one and go to some classes? Do you like to do Pilates? What is it that you do? We all need to keep that river flowing smoothly. And what do you do for fun and laughter? That is really part of the joyful lifestyle. It can't always be about work. This is one thing that increases the quality of your life dramatically. And if you don't mind, if anybody has any thoughts about what that would be, put it in the chat and I'll look at it as soon as we're done here. What do you think the one thing that you can do will increase the quality of your life dramatically? I want to see what you've said. It's your mindset. Mindset is the foundation of everything. Yes, we have to, we have food, we have supplements, we're stacking all these 5 steps. But the mindset, which you get from the support, is the foundation. Now, we're not all in Bali sitting in this beautiful little hand-woven basket. I get it. But look at this woman. She is glowing from the inside out. She knows who she is. And that's what it's about for you. Because when you have the right mindset, you're on your healing path. And it's not as easy as you think, because we've been brainwashed by the standard American diet, the standard American messaging from advertising. We've all adjusted with the frog in warm water approach to life. It's impossible not to. But this diagnosis is an opportunity for you to get out of all of that. And it's not as easy as you think, because we have these little voices in our head that are going all the time, right? Mindset can be your worst enemy. You've all had moments like that where you're up in the middle of the night, you get up to pee, you can't fall back to sleep, and you lay there and your mind is ruminating. You get into this rut, did the treatment get it all? Is it going to come back? What else can I do? Mindset can be your best friend, because you know that you are doing everything possible. And you're working on yourself using the 5 steps. And you're getting the support you need and deserve to create a new approach towards this new chapter in your life. And when you become best friends with your mindset, we have these negative thoughts like, I'm not doing enough, I should have done this, why did I eat that? You become aware of them. You can't say to them, now shut up, go away, but you can just turn the volume down, and you can turn on that positive way of looking at your day and yourself. And you give yourself time and permission to heal, and you realize that you can't stack taking care of everyone in your day, because you need 2 hours to take care of yourself, doing things that nurture you, that make you feel good. And this takes time and patience. This is not anything that we ever see advertisements for on television, right? You need self-care and self-love. A lot of people don't know even what self-care and self-love are, because we haven't ever been taught that. It's not like there's something the matter with you if you don't know that. We don't take a class in school. This is that class. And you need support and guidance. And one of the most important aspects for this diagnosis is that I think everyone needs to embrace a more feminine approach, not just towards the diagnosis, but also towards life. Now, in the 60s, Ronald Reagan was there, and he said, we're going to have a war on cancer. And then Gerald Ford's wife, Betty Ford, came out with her breast cancer diagnosis. I was, alive for that. I think I was in my 20s, whatever. So before she came out, breast cancer was this disease that was like a shameful thing for women. And nobody talked about it, and you were supposed to keep it a secret. It was not common like it is now. And it was not thought of in this way of, okay, you have breast cancer. There were no pink ribbons in the 60s. There was this curtain of hiding. But now we've come through that curtain. We have pink ribbons, and that's a whole other conversation. Some people do not like the pink ribbons. I understand. But the message here of breast cancer is it is a disease of the feminine. It's not a war. We're not conquering or attacking or fighting, because those words are very masculine, and they're aggressive, and they create inflammation. And who are we doing those things to? Yourself. So we need to have a new way of looking at this diagnosis and this disease, because I know that it's overwhelming, and you can feel as if you're sitting in the middle of this puzzle and all the pieces are up in the air. Women say to me, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to start. So I want to share with you how I worked with a woman in real life. This is a true story. It's not her photo and it's not her name, but she gave me permission to use it. And this is Joanne. And she came in to see me, and the first thing she said is, I don't know how the heck this happened to me. I thought I was eating healthy. I exercised, and she felt very betrayed by her body. And she began to question what she was doing and how it happened to her. It was very serious. She had finished treatment, and she came into me with some pretty serious hormonal side effects. But even before you start on your hormone blocking medication, treatment creates all of this. We have brain fog and fatigue from chemotherapy and radiation, and she had something what I call the blurry boundary syndrome. I'm going to talk about this, and I want you to put in chat if you relate to this. Here's the blurry boundary syndrome. I make up these syndromes, and they're real. This is very common for women with breast cancer. They tend to do. You're feeling rushed. You're taking care of everyone. You say yes to things that you really may not want to do. You're a bit of a perfectionist, and so you don't like to ask for help because you think they're not going to do it as well as I can. Anybody relate to that? And so what happens is that you're saying yes a lot to taking care of other people and doing things for other people. And that gives you this rushed feeling, and then you get put on the back burner. And this diagnosis is an opportunity for you to start saying no. And notice I'm saying, I didn't say I'm sorry, but no. It's just, no, I'm not able to do that now, because you're not sorry. You're not sorry. And the other aspect of blurry boundaries is if you start saying no to people, nicely, of course, but not I'm sorry, no, and they start being not nice to you because they're not getting from you what they want, that's an indication that you need new friends. How many of the people that you thought were your friends showed up when you were diagnosed? How many people, if you shared the diagnosis, called up and said, I heard that you have breast cancer, you're going through treatment, how can I help? It's not just about you doing for other people. It needs to be how people are showing up for you. And if the scale is tipped too far in one end, this diagnosis and your determination to start doing the 5 steps and to getting control and becoming empowered, this is an opportunity for you to get out of this blurry boundary syndrome. And the other aspect of this that Joanne had, and a lot of you probably have it, and there's no judgment here, it's the Carol Lourie couch potato syndrome. Now, what happens with the couch potato syndrome? You don't feel well. You have aching joints. You haven't even finished recovering, really, reestablishing your harmony or equilibrium from active treatment. And the next thing you know, you're being given hormone blocking therapy and you don't feel well. How could you? So you sit on the couch and you watch television. That's the couch potato syndrome. Anybody relate to that? There's no judgment. You don't want to be sitting on the couch watching TV. You don't want to be not feeling well. How do you get out of that? So Joanne realized, and she said to me, I'm in an unhealthy rut. I don't even know where to start. I just know I want to get my life back. And she said that over and over again. And, really, how do you start? We don't start by having the energy to run up this beautiful mountain, but this is what we want to be able to do. And it is possible. So how do we contain the chaos? What do we do? It's really easy. We start with the 5 steps. The beauty of the 5 steps is it gives you a package. It gives you a path, a very clear path. And we started with how she was eating. Now, if you look at this plate of food, this is not an unattractive plate of food. It doesn't take a long time to eat. There's a lot of food on here. It's extremely healthy and delicious. And the good news is it's not only healthy for you, it's also healthy for everyone in your family. And if there's leftovers, you can eat them for breakfast or lunch the next day. We started with supplements. We added supplements. You start slow. You don't want to go throwing the kitchen sink at you when you're just beginning. We want to make sure that you're getting supplements made to pharmaceutical quality standards. We begin to discuss her upsetting experiences or trauma. Now, I'm not so naive by thinking that one conversation is going to do it, but you have to trust your psyche that what comes up first is what your inner world feels safe with. And then as you go deeper, it's like peeling off a layer of onion. And I refer people to therapy all the time for deeper work. And then it's like, okay, what's under the hood of your car? how do we find out what's going on for you? And actually, she had blood sugar problems that her oncologist hadn't really gotten a hold of. And so with that knowledge, she began to get better blood work and found out that she had blood sugar problems that we needed to deal with. Then she began to have energy, and she could get off the couch, and you start very slow. So what happened with Joanne is she started with these stretching. But then she said to me when she began to feel better, it's a true story, she liked to ride bike. And for me, riding bike hurts my rear end too much. It's not one of my favorite activities, but she liked it. And it was her birthday coming up. And I said, why don't you go to the local bike store and buy a bike, a really good bike, an advanced level of bike, because you're going to be doing it all the time. So she and her husband and son went to the local bike store, and they each got really great bikes. And they each started riding as a family on the weekends. So 14-year-old son attached to the television and the telephone, and he was out there in nature riding bikes. They started with 5 miles the first weekend. Eventually, it was 50 miles. And then eventually, 8 months later, after she went from couch potato syndrome, she rode her bike for 25 miles, 4 days in a row to raise money for breast cancer from San Francisco to Los Angeles. 8 months, didn't take long, from couch potato syndrome to being able to bike ride 100 miles. That is what's possible. Now, you don't want to bike ride, that's fine. But it's important to understand, like that woman who was climbing up the mountain, that is possible, and it doesn't take that long. Because you want to, if you're on, you want to reduce the tamoxifen and AI side effects. They're really a pain in the neck. And she began with changing her unhealthy habits with food. And then she, got rid of the couch potato syndrome. And then she said to me, and this is really funny, this is one of the most difficult things that I have to do, which is clean up my relationships because it involves another person. Everything else I could do myself, and it was great. But having to talk to people about our unhealthy relationships and the blurry boundary syndromes I have, and it turned out that she had to let go of quite a few relationships that she thought these people were friends because the scale was tipped. It wasn't equal. And actually, she felt really liberated. She had more time to do things for herself, and her family was amazed because they were really worried about her. Anybody here have their family members worried about them? I mean, put it in the chat. So getting and staying healthy is the best thing you can do to keep it from coming back. And this is not something that we see advertised on television, and it's not a message that you get from your oncology office. Most of the time, you're told everything in moderation as far as your food is concerned. And actually, from where I'm sitting, that is one of the worst things that you can be told. That's actually not true. The second aspect is you need to rediscover or discover your passion in life. Now, for this woman, it's growing vegetables. I used to garden and grow all my family's vegetables. Now I'm very busy doing this. I garden a little bit, but I don't grow vegetables so much. But what matters to you? Do you want to go back to school? Do you want to learn a new craft? 7.8 million women were diagnosed with breast cancer in the past 5 years. This is the world's most prevalent cancer outside of colon cancer and lung cancer, which has to do with smoking. And 788,000 women will have a cancer recurrence up to 20 years after the initial diagnosis. So even after the 5 years that they tell you about, you're not necessarily safe, but you can shift these statistics. You have the ability and the power to shift these statistics. That's empowerment. It's my mission to provide this critical information to women throughout the world. And I want to share with you how you can do that. Everything you need to know for life after breast cancer involves the 5 steps, all of the steps that I just shared with you. And if you feel like you have a handle on all of this, I'm really excited and happy for you, and that is really wonderful. But if you're feeling overwhelmed and like this woman who was sitting around with a whole bunch of puzzle pieces, you feel lost, you don't even know where to start. Like Joanne said, I don't even know where to start. You have a lot of questions. I want to share with you how I can help. So I'm excited to introduce you to my Empowered Against Recurrence live group coaching program. It's live. I'm here with you for 6 weeks. It's a 6-week journey that I guide you through, and it's really an opportunity for you to learn how to tip the scales in your favor. It's time to tip the scales in your favor. We no more of this passive, well, this is the way it is. It's using me and my positivity and my energy and belief in your ability. And let's get the scales in your favor in all aspects. So we have 6 weeks of live group teaching. And then the first thing that we want to do is get rid of this confusion. I know that you all want to do the best for yourselves. And there's an enormous amount of material and information out there, as like even the oncologist thought that you shouldn't be on curcumin when you're on tamoxifen. And that's actually not medically indicated. It is, the reference that the doctor had was not appropriate anymore. So let's get rid of this confusion so you understand and you are empowered. And here, look at this beautiful plate of food. I had this salad the other day for breakfast. For breakfast, not for lunch. The standard American diet has us convinced that we need to have boxed cereal, which is like cardboard, and milk or eggs. And I had this for breakfast. I was very happy. So what is the best breast cancer diet? What can you do comfortably that works for you? We start with food. And then how do we create supplement protocol for you that is not overwhelming, that can become part of your life, that you know that the money you're spending on supplements is going towards products made to pharmaceutical quality standards. Let's get talking about trauma in a safe environment, very slowly. And if you feel like you need a referral to a local therapist, I will find you one. Let's have a deeper understanding of what's going on in your body. I can't tell you how often the oncologists only run basic standard tests, and that doesn't give you enough information to know how your body is really doing. We don't want to just look at the right rear tire. We want to look extensively about what's happening underneath your hood. And then how do we help you prioritize? Because there are many aspects to creating a healthy and joyful lifestyle. What do you want to start with first? And how long will it take you? There's no judgment. It takes 100 days to create a new habit. That's a third of a year. So it's not something that you want to rush through. We have to go through it slowly and steadily, and that is what wins the race. And then because so many of you are suffering, really suffering, in my Facebook group, there are 4,000 or 5,000 women in there, and I'd say 80% of the women in there are talking about how these medications are wreaking havoc with their life. So I created the special workshop of reducing tamoxifen and aromatase inhibitor side effects, and there is a lot you can do. I have this phrase about these drugs: can't live with them, afraid you won't live without them. That's a dilemma. That is a serious dilemma. Let's help you tip the scales in your favor in this area too. So I know every woman is super busy, and because of that, the videos and the classes are recorded. You get the videos and the slide deck. And here's everything that we get with the online program of Empowered Against Recurrence. We go through the 6 weeks, the 5 steps, plus the special workshop is the 6th week. And there are bonuses. Of course, there are bonuses. The first bonus is you get a 30-minute private consultation with me. It's just the two of us. We talk about where you are now, where do you want to go, what's your most difficult area that you're concerned about, and how can I help? And then the second bonus is it's not just me with the 6 weeks of live group coaching. I spent over a year researching, writing, and producing a library of curated content for you. So there are 6 weeks of the live group coaching. There are 6 chapters in the library or vault. And there's a whole bunch of information in the resource section, lots of ebooks. And you have 24/7 access to that, and it doesn't go away. Even after the 6 weeks are over, you keep that. There are interviews there with experts. There's beautiful meditations. The third bonus is live interviews with health and cancer experts. You know, it's not just the science of breast cancer. There's a lot that goes into creating a healthy and happy and joyful life. And one of the most important things that I want to talk about is marital challenges and intimacy hurdles. Your body has changed, and now you're on hormonal blocking therapy. And so there's this whole shift that's dramatically occurring. I guarantee you that your partner does not know how to address this. So it can become an elephant in the room. There are many ways of being intimate in marriage. Doesn't have, nobody here is in their 20s anymore. So how do you adjust to that? And so I bring in these health and cancer experts, which really help and provide additional information. And I want you to be spending your time out in the garden, climbing the mountains, being with the grandkids, being on the lake, whatever it is that you like to do. I don't want you to spend your time on Dr. Google. That's my job. So I've simplified the research for you, and there's a lot of information in the resource section. Plus, you get weekly emails from me with additional information. And then I want to make sure, as bonus number 5, that you are getting everything that you need and that they are real products made to pharmaceutical quality standards. And I provide you with a very nice discount for that. And the 6th bonus is that once you've joined my program, anytime I give a live group coaching, you are welcome to come back as a VIP guest with no additional charge. So I have women that were in the course, 2.5 years ago. One young woman was in the middle of chemotherapy. She didn't have hair. She showed up every week. And 2.5 years later, she comes back every time I give a live group coaching. She likes to hang out with me, and she wants, a reminder of the information because it's an amazing community. The people in this community are interested in learning and discovering these integrative, holistic, natural tools that they can use to optimize their life, to optimize your health so you can come back from breast cancer stronger, healthier, and better than ever. So we're talking about how much does this cost. You might be thinking, oh my goodness, how much is it? So here's all the numbers. We don't need to focus on these numbers, but I'm having a summer sale now, and it's $197. What's your plan if you don't do this? Are you going to continue to stay in the middle of the circle of all the pieces of the puzzle and thinking, oh, I got it covered? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I lowered the price so everybody can become carefree. I want you to know that you are doing everything possible to reduce your risk. And I keep the group small so I can give you the attention and the focus that you deserve. We can help you discover what you need so you can recover your health, and fear doesn't get to live there in you anymore. Now, I know there are 2 paths before you right now. Option 1, you walk away and you hope that things, stay the same and you're doing well in your mammogram. And if you choose that, it's been really an honor to have you here. I wish you all the best. But the second option is, for $197, I've made this so that everyone can afford it. You know that there's a problem. You're tired of trying to figure this out by yourself. You're curious about the 5 steps, and you definitely want that information of the special workshop. And who else suffers when you don't have the energy and you're anxious all the time? Now, you may look at this picture and you think, oh, this woman has it all together. But this woman did not have it all together. This is a real photo. She did not feel well. She did not look like this. Her emotional state was very distraught. And she came to me and she said, I always ask people, what's your why? Her why was she wanted to be able to be there when her daughter had her first grandchild. What is your why? I want to have energy for my child's college graduation. I want to have energy so I can go traveling with my spouse. I want to have energy just for me. I want to have energy because I want to go back to school and learn a new profession. I mean, what is your why? It's hard to do stuff when you don't feel well. Now you have a choice. It's very powerful. You're not alone, and I'm here with you, and we work together. And you can tell that I'm very empowered for you. So here's some quotes of what women said when they had joined the program, and don't underestimate how important this was. One woman, actually, when we had our first complimentary session, she said to me, I was crying the whole time you gave your presentation because I finally found like somebody who understood exactly what I was going through. Stop guessing and start the process. It's really fun because I know it's easy to feel overwhelmed and lost, or you're thinking, I don't want to be in touch with my cancer. I just want it to go away. A lot of people think that. Or maybe you're thinking, I don't believe it's going to make any difference. Now, that is the hopelessness syndrome in perfection. That is the hopelessness syndrome. Maybe you don't think I don't have any time. Now, that is the breast cancer rush, rush, rush. I have to do this. I have to do that. That's the breast cancer miasm from a homeopathic perspective. But I know that women don't have time. And that's why everything's recorded and it's put in your online library or vault. And you can keep hoping that things are going to change on their own. But there's no advertising for this on television. It's time to make this your reality. And it's time to put yourself first. And I don't think it's an accident that you're here. You can tell that I'm very dedicated to helping women recover their health. And I think you are too, because you can heal your body and calm your cancer anxiety. And this is what's possible when you get your sparkle back. She's having a good time, whatever that version is for you. So I want to go over once what you get. And the value is $44.50, but it's now $197. It doesn't get any more reasonable than this. Let's make this summer filled with deep healing for you. I love this photo. It's great. When does the group start and when do they meet? So we're meeting on Thursdays, and I think we start next Thursday. And we meet at 10 a.m. Pacific, and that's 1 o'clock Eastern time. Okay? So, Lisa, you want to know if I counsel not taking medication after radiation with food and supplements? I'm not quite sure. During radiation, there are certain supplements you can take, and there are certain supplements you can't. I would go over that with you, yes. Everybody put their whys in. That's great. Your 8-year-old daughter, Jean, that's beautiful. My spouse, moving to the next season, you're moving to Florida or somewhere else. That's very exciting. My grandkids, Lisa. Yes, Amy, the hot flashes are horrible. There's stuff that you can do to reduce that. Okay, so Joyce, you chose not to take medication, which is a choice. However, if you're choosing not to take medication, you really need to be working on the internal environment at a higher level, okay? Some women take the medication at a reduced dose, but they're still taking it. That's a conversation. We'll talk about that in week number 6. And Stephanie, I have a lot to say about triple negative breast cancer. I've worked with lots of women with triple negative breast cancer. You need specific supplements about that. So yes, I can help you with that. Yes, Jackie, the belly fat is a side effect of the aromatase inhibitors. I'm very familiar with that. Yes, 1 in every 8 women are now being diagnosed. 1 in 7 or 8. Yes. Tracy, you're trying to lower your sugar and cholesterol. That's wonderful. Ebook in the resource section about all the advanced testing. Roberta, you're experiencing some pretty serious side effects from, yes, the hormone blocking therapy. That's why I developed this special workshop, week number 6. So if I talk about endocrine resistance and its impact on treatment, absolutely. Do I work alongside with a holistic oncologist? Yes, Jackie, there's nothing in this information that is going to interfere. Lydia, you want to know about DNA issues and methylation changes? Marie, you're not sure if you want to take the hormone blocker. We can talk about that during your private consultation. Annette, there are ways to help combat the belly fat. Part of the belly fat is due to eating too many carbohydrates and eating too much sugar-laden foods. 50% of women taking tamoxifen stop in the first 6 months. That's how horrible the side effects are of this drug. Remember my phrase, can't live with them, afraid you won't live without them. That is the dilemma of tamoxifen and aromatase inhibitors. You have osteoporosis. Okay, I have some serious concerns about Boniva, calcium for a woman who has menopause or osteoporosis or osteopenia. And the product is made to pharmaceutical quality standards. It's worth it just for that, ladies. I give people a link to purchase supplements, Laura, through my account. And you're given specific brands with specific names. I've researched all of these companies. I know they're third-party tested. I know the products are made to pharmaceutical quality standards. I don't want you wasting your money. Don't suffer with these side effects from tamoxifen. Stop feeling overwhelmed of like, should I be taking this? What do I eat? What am I eating for breakfast? Is it the right thing? Let me help you discover how to come back from breast cancer healthier, stronger, and better than ever. It's called the Special Workshop, Reducing the Side Effects of Tamoxifen and Aromatase Inhibitors. Anastrozole is aromatase inhibitors. Tamoxifen doesn't lead so much to osteopenia and osteoporosis, but it also creates, thinning hair and nails. I talk about all of that. Your hair and your nails, you may think they're superficial, but they're very important. It's how we feel about ourselves. And you can all reach me through support@thepathofbreastcancer.com.